At the campsite, Ghislain finalized preparations for the forest expedition. With the temporary base established and resources secured, he briefed the troops about their mission into the rumored Forest of the Beast. The mercenaries were initially shocked, fearing for their lives, but their mood instantly improved when Ghislain promised triple pay. Belinda whispered to Ghislain, questioning his promise of triple pay when their funds were already depleted on preparations. Ghislain explained this was simply to boost morale, confident that success would allow him to fulfill his promise with funds to spare. When he asked if she trusted him, Belinda reluctantly agreed to follow. Kayer remarked on Ghislain's boldness, while Gillian assured him that Ghislain always had a plan. Ghislain raised his hand, signaling everyone to move. The troops began clearing a path by chopping trees inside the forest. Kayer noticed their employer helping alongside them, while others assumed Ghislain's assistance was merely for show. When Belinda questioned why he hired them if he intended to work himself, Ghislain explained that minimizing time spent in the forest was crucial. The faster they cleared it, the better. Belinda wonders why Ghislain speaks with such foreknowledge. Kayer makes side comments about the two, only to be struck with a log by Gillian for his remarks. Everything is proceeding according to Ghislain's plan, thanks to a journal from his past life detailing resource locations and monster ecosystems. Yet Ghislain feels uneasy about the suspicious lack of incidents. Meanwhile, as darkness fell, the troops noted the forest's surprising lack of beasts despite its dangerous reputation. Gordon, being kicked by a bald mercenary demanding a refund, noticed something odd: a large tree blocking their path in an area the others confirmed they had already cleared. Ghislain asks Gordon to approach him carefully. As Gordon turns, he strikes the tree with his log, but the adrenaline causes him to lose balance, falling to the ground. The bald mercenary, witnessing Gordon's fall, breaks into mocking laughter, accusing Ghislain of scare tactics. Yet, as he mocks, a vine grasps the bald mercenary, dragging him towards the tree, which devours him. Ghislain, facing the monster, identifies it as a dirous ent. Pandemonium breaks out as mercenaries flee, some meeting gruesome ends. Gordon manages to latch onto a tree, but a vine latches onto him. A valiant mercenary attempts to sever the vine with his axe, but to no avail. As Gordon is dragged towards the ent, Ghislain leaps into action, slicing the vine with mana-imbued sword. In midair, he twists and slashes the ent's eye, opening a gap in its defenses. Ghislain shouts instructions to the troops, commanding Gordon's group to erect a defensive perimeter. He then turns to Kayer, ordering him to retrieve the lamps and hurl them towards the monsters. The monsters swat away the lamps unfazed. Ghislain, undeterred, commands Gillian and Belinda to prep more lamps while protecting the mercenaries, as he confronts the dirous ent head-on. Ghislain parries and blocks its attacks, drawing the attention of the ferocious beast. Gordon's group, anxious for their employer's safety, watches with bated breath. With sheer determination, Ghislain leaps into action, his sword piercing the monster's eye. Ghislain's successful diversion allows Belinda to order her allies to lob more lamps at the distracted monsters, immolating them. The monsters, fixated on Ghislain, fail to avert the fiery onslaught. Kayer and the others rejoice as the monsters shriek and writhe in agony. However, Ghislain's grim warning quashes their premature celebration. The smoke from the burning monsters envelopes the forest, filling the air with an ominous haze. Everyone tenses, ready for the next wave of attacks. As the smoke dissipates, the true forms of the monsters are unveiled, striking terror into the hearts of the mercenaries. However, in this moment of uncertainty, Ghislain draws his sword, his unwavering presence galvanizing the troops. He commands them to ready their weapons, preparing them for the imminent close-quarter combat that awaits them. The mercenaries, emboldened by Ghislain's steadfastness, steel themselves for the fight ahead. Ghislain leads the charge, the Cerberus mercenaries following in his wake. Gordon's team hesitates, but Gillian spurs them to action with a reminder of Ghislain's command. Drawing upon their trust in their young leader, they plunge into the fray, vanquishing the monsters in an intense battle. Ghislain, with a decisive swing of his sword, cleaves the last monster in two and raises his blade high as a signal of victory. He gathers the troops, acknowledging that the fight at the forest entrance was only the beginning. He entreats them not to fear, declaring that he will always stand at the forefront of the battle. He implores them to trust and follow his lead, his confidence and command instilling a sense of unity and purpose in the mercenaries. Pressing on deeper into the forest, the troops battle countless beasts, taking respites whenever possible. They soon encounter a hybrid Cow-T-Rex creature, freezing Gordon's team in terror. Kayer and Gillian engage the monster, with Kayer slicing its leg, causing it to buckle towards the other mercenaries. Gillian shields them, taking the brunt of the blow, until Ghislain delivers the final strike, vanquishing the abomination. Ghislain scans the scene, ensuring his team is unscathed. The mercenaries pledge their commitment to stay by their employer's side for survival. Gillian and Kayer note that the mercenaries, emboldened by their first taste of battle, are performing admirably. The party continues their forest clearance, but one mercenary muses that following Ghislain into the forest was utter madness. Arriving at a lake as night descends, the mercenaries eagerly quench their thirst, oblivious to the potential dangers lurking within the water. Belinda voices her concern, only to be reassured by Ghislain, who senses the lake holds the key to reaching the runestone mine. The team sets up camp, cooking and resting for the night, as Manus whispers to a fellow mercenary, plotting an escape into the forest's depths. As Manus paints Ghislain as a self-serving opportunist, using the mercenaries to build his reputation, some are swayed by his words. Yet, one mercenary catches Ghislain nursing the wounded, pouring expensive medicines and potions into their wounds. He counters Manus, questioning why Ghislain would waste such resources if he had planned to discard them. This argument brings the team back to their earlier assessment of Ghislain, acknowledging his consistent care and protection throughout the expedition. After rounding up Gillian and Kayer, Ghislain inquires about the remaining lamp count, only to learn from Belinda that a few are missing. Ghislain observes the eerie absence of monsters during the past 2 nights, which Gillian remarks is evidence of a powerful, nocturnal creature that controls this territory. A solemn silence descends as the realization dawns on the group. They may have entered the lair of an apex predator. In the stillness of the night, the lamps eerily drift away, rousing Gordon from his slumber. Startled, he swings his mace wildly in the darkness, yelling about a nearby creature. The commotion draws the others, bewildered as they fail to detect any monsters. Gordon, still flustered, insists something was there, to which the group replies with skeptical glances, leaving Gordon perplexed by the experience. One Cerberus mercenary corroborates Gordon's strange encounter, confirming the presence of some unseen force lurking near the camp. Ghislain promptly assembles the leaders, gravely disclosing the ominous news that the camp is surrounded by nocturnal monsters, undetectable to the human eye. Their entrance into the lake territory, he surmises, attracted these elusive creatures, bringing them face to face with a deadly new adversary. Ghislain informs the team that their foe, the Falors, have the unique ability to merge into shadows, rendering physical attacks futile. With chilling dread, he reveals that hundreds of these creatures are encircling the camp, stealthily stealing their lamps. Stunned by the grim revelation, Kayer, enraged, suggests launching a preemptive strike. Yet, Ghislain urges restraint, reasoning that they should let the Falors initiate the attack, biding their time for a well-timed counter. Ghislain expounds on the reasoning behind his plan. By allowing the Falors to attack first, they can catch them in a single devastating blow. Gillian, astutely grasping the strategy's significance, asks how this is possible against an invisible threat. Ghislain commands Belinda to distribute magic scrolls to the mercenaries. He divides the team into 3 groups: Gordon's defenders, a crossbow unit, and an elite assault unit led by Ghislain himself. Belinda, skeptical of the strategy, questions Ghislain on how they can possibly overcome the Falors' unique immunity to physical attacks. All eyes fall upon Ghislain, who, unperturbed, grins and reveals the trump card, magic scrolls. The battle commences, the defenders raising their shields to repel the Falors. Ghislain boldly strides forward, ripping apart the magic scroll. The others swiftly follow suit, and together, they watch as the scroll's light ascends like a fiery beacon, illuminating the battlefield in a brilliant white radiance. Ghislain's preparation pays off as the Falors' camouflage falters under the blazing illumination, exposing their true forms to the merciless eyes of the mercenaries. The blinding light dissipates the Falors' camouflage, revealing their forms to the mercenaries' eyes. The crossbowmen take their chance, raining arrows upon the creatures. With a flourish of his sword, Ghislain signals the charge, and the battle erupts into full force. With deft precision, Ghislain slays the Falors in rapid succession. While these creatures wield the formidable power of camouflage, their defenses, once exposed, are easily pierced. Gillian acts as the frontline tank, drawing the enemy's attention while Kayer disrupts their formation. Belinda provides vital support, creating openings for Ghislain to deliver devastating strikes. Together, this elite unit demonstrates the pinnacle of Perdium's power, slicing through the followers with unparalleled efficacy. Despite the dwindling reserves of arrows, the crossbowmen persist against the unrelenting followers. Meanwhile, the defenders desperately hold their ground, hope dwindling as the followers draw closer. Just as the situation seems dire, Ghislain and his elite unit sweep in, dealing a devastating blow to the followers, clearing the field of adversaries. Praise from their leader revitalizes the defenders' resolve, and with renewed vigor, they join the assault, lending their might to the already formidable force of Ghislain's elite unit. The followers, sensing defeat, attempt to scatter. But Ghislain, in his keen insight, commands Belinda to seek out the horned leader that directs the horde. With its demise, he explains, the followers will lose cohesion, becoming vulnerable to annihilation. Belinda watches as Ghislain directs the operation with a new, more mature command. Impressed, she readies her string, flinging it high into a tree before launching herself upward to gain a better vantage point. Belinda, perched high above, locates the horned leader and lassos it with her string. She calls for Ghislain, who charges forward, his sword cleaving the leader in two. As the followers' command structure collapses, Ghislain orders a ruthless pursuit, bringing swift demise to their scattered forces. At dawn's first light, with the battle won, Ghislain salutes his warriors for their unwavering dedication and skill. The troops exult in their survival and success, their triumphant cries ringing through the trees. Ghislain assigns Belinda to take a head count of the forces while Gillian and Kair set about strewing the fallen followers throughout the camp for additional defense. As the sun rises on a new day, Ghislain ponders the next challenge awaiting them: the excavation of the coveted runestones. Belinda, to Ghislain's relief, confirms that the Cerberus mercenaries have suffered no casualties, but 3 of the contracted mercenaries are unaccounted for, with no sign of their bodies. Meanwhile, the missing mercenaries, led by the scheming Manus, flee the scene of battle, desperate to escape the forest. Yet, they come to a sudden halt as they notice a baleful crimson eye trained upon them. As the ominous red eye reveals itself to be that of the colossal serpent guarding the runestone, it deposits the 3 mercenaries upon a heap of bones. Ghislain and his troops continue their clearing efforts, oblivious to the fate of the renegades. Kair observes the mercenaries working harmoniously, prompting him to question Ghislain's plans for them post-mission. Ghislain, however, divulges his intentions to recruit them as personal mercenaries, maintaining their cohesion even after the mission ends. For Ghislain, these men have already surpassed the limits of typical mercenaries, thanks to the experience they've gained during the expedition, and will serve as an excellent foundation for expanding his power. The Cerberus mercenaries finish scattering the Falor corpses around the camp. Kair can't believe that the corpses of the Falor were effective, given that they haven't encountered any actual monsters. However, Ghislain still feels uneasy. Belinda arrives after scouting ahead. Belinda reports that she has found the location of the runestones. Ghislain is surprised and orders the troops to speed up the clearing of the forest. The party emerges from the thick foliage, their collective gaze transfixed by the sight that awaits them. A mountain of glimmering runestones, sparkling like stars on a midnight sky. As the party begins to celebrate their find, Belinda embraces Ghislain, inquiring about his foreknowledge. However, their revelry is abruptly interrupted by Manus' voice, ominously declaring their imminent demise. Ghislain's expression shifts from joy to solemnity as he halts Gordon's group from approaching. His sword, now held aloft, cuts through the lingering mist, revealing a grisly mound of skeletal remains, a grim warning of the dangers that await. The mercenaries raise their weapons in anticipation of the coming onslaught. Ghislain, racking his memory, finds no mention of this danger in his past journal discoveries. Before Ghislain can issue his command, a gargantuan red serpent slithers forth, cutting off his words and immediately shifting the focus to the immediate threat. Anticipating the serpent's strike, Ghislain directs the troops to disperse as the serpent launches itself at him. Ghislain nimbly sidesteps the attack, retaliating with a powerful blow to its head, followed by a mana-infused thrust. Yet, despite his precise strikes, the serpent's scales remain unscathed, the impenetrable armor of a high-class monster. The serpent, incensed by Ghislain's defiance, spews toxic venom at him. Ghislain, quick as lightning, unfurls his cape to deflect the attack. Undeterred, the serpent uses its powerful tail to launch a devastating blow, sending Ghislain crashing to the ground. Belinda lets out a cry of alarm, fearing for her master's safety. The mercenaries, swept up in the ferocity of the duel, withdraw to a safe distance. Ghislain manages to fend off the serpent's lethal assault, halting the beast's advance for the moment. His observation confirms that he is indeed facing a blood python, the master of this runestone mine, a daunting foe with a low probability of defeat. Ghislain weighs his options. Retreat now to preserve lives and plan for a future assault, or soldier on and risk it all. To abandon this quest would invalidate all his previous endeavors. Resolute in his determination to safeguard his comrades, Ghislain refuses to falter, summoning his mana core, poised to engage the blood python with all his might. Ghislain pushed his limits, unleashing his third core. The monstrous python attacked. Ghislain parried, landing a slice on its head, then aimed for its eye. A brutal exchange followed. His allies, powerless, watched. Ghislain struck from above, slicing into the serpent's mouth. But the python wouldn't fall. Each strike seemed to have no effect. At this rate, Ghislain's mana would run out long before he could finish the fight. Ghislain's troops, moved by their leader's courage, surge into the fray, determined to aid Ghislain. Belinda implores Ghislain to retreat, offering to cover his escape. Yet, Ghislain issues an unexpected command, for them to leave the battlefield. Confusion washes over the mercenaries, bewildered by this sudden shift in strategy. Ghislain knows that the fate of his comrades is at stake. He must defeat the serpent alone. Belinda's concerned gaze follows Ghislain, her mind reeling with questions. Why would he push himself to such extremes? As the serpent unleashes its venomous wrath, Ghislain's commands to retreat fall on deaf ears. His allies, united in their loyalty, raise their shields to absorb the toxic onslaught. In defiance of Ghislain's order, they shout their commitment to fight by his side. Gillian urges their leader to trust in their strength, to rely on them as comrades in arms. With a steely gaze, Ghislain assesses the serpent and signals his troops to join him, resolute in their goal to slay the monster and emerge victorious, together. With the monster's damaged eye as a weak point, Kair's attack causes the serpent to topple, its balance shattered. Seizing this opening, Gillian and Ghislain drive their blades into its remaining eye. The mercenaries, galvanized by the turn of events, rush to join the offensive, yet the serpent rallies, flinging the troops off with a violent toss of its massive head. Ghislain, sensing an opportunity, leaps into the air, only to be swallowed whole by the serpent. Speechless, the mercenaries gazed at the harrowing scene in disbelief. Then a sword tore through the serpent's flesh from within, and Ghislain emerged, severing its mouth. Relief surged through them as they watched Ghislain stand triumphant, reaffirming his inner resolve. I am Perdium's future. Back at Perdium Castle, Ghislain's insubordination was the subject of a heated debate. The council pushed for swift punishment, highlighting the dangers of Ghislain's unchecked ambition. Ghislain's father, torn between duty and paternal love, wrestled with the dilemma. The arguments raged on when Randolph burst in, delivering the unexpected news. Ghislain had returned. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of shock and confusion. As Ghislain entered the Perdium state, Ghislain's father and the council were debating his punishment for disobeying orders by entering the dangerous forest of beasts. Despite the potential danger he posed, the elders decided to overlook the forest incident. However, they then confronted him with a letter from Count Rayfold, who had severed all ties with Perdium, including a marriage engagement, due to Ghislain's actions towards Amelia. The council demanded Ghislain return 20,000 gold, but he revealed he'd spent it on the forest of beasts. This sparked outrage. Randolph accused him of jeopardizing Perdium's future, and Homaru declared him unfit to be lord, demanding his imprisonment. Asserting his success, Ghislain reassures his father and the council that he has secured the much-needed support funds, even the 20,000 gold pieces. This revelation leaves his father reeling, demanding an explanation. Ghislain's response is accompanied by Belinda, who enters the chamber, hefting a heavy chest. The council falls silent at the sight, their questions silenced by the reveal of the finest runestones. The council was shocked, asking Ghislain where he got the runestones. Ghislain explained that they got it from the Forest of Beast. Albert acknowledged the potential value of the runestones, but questioned if the quantity was sufficient to support Perdium. Ghislain led them outside, revealing a convoy of wagons overflowing with runestones, astonishing everyone and confirming his claims through Belinda's testimony. Beyond the runestones, Ghislain brought back valuable monster remains and clarified the current display was a small portion of the forest mine. He reminded them the expedition's purpose was land restoration. Albert's estimate guaranteed financial relief, leading Homeru and Randolph to begin flattering Ghislain. Ghislain agreed to provide the necessary funds, but with a few stipulations. He demanded the immediate release of Scovin and Ricardo, emphasizing they acted solely on his orders. Furthermore, he insisted on maintaining the ban on civilian access to the Forest of Beasts, citing concerns about potentially disruptive rumors. Homeru found the initial conditions acceptable. Ghislain's final demand was full control over mercenary recruitment and security management, arguing that external interference in troop movements within his territory was inefficient. Randolph, however, objected to Ghislain's creation of a private army, expressing concerns about his potential motives. Albert stated Ghislain couldn't demand after his recent actions. Ghislain argued hindering him would hurt Perdium's finances, and asked Albert if he was willing to take that risk. Albert glanced at his brother, Ghislain's father, urging him to speak amidst the crucial negotiations concerning Perdium's future. Their discussion was cut short by the mercenaries' arrival. Gillian reported the runestones were fully loaded and ready, while Kaer announced the Dirus Ent hides were stored and sought instructions for the bloody python. Ghislain directed them to dismantle the python's remains. To evaluate the mercenaries, Ghislain's father asked Randolph for his opinion. Randolph was impressed by their strength and presence, and questioned Ghislain's control over them. Ghislain's father then praised Ghislain's ability to command them, asking if he was creating an elite force. Ghislain explained their necessity for the expedition. Ghislain's father then dismissed the council, and warned Ghislain that his disobedience would not be tolerated in the future. Ghislain thanked his father, who stated that Ghislain had the spirit of the Northern Wolf. Northern Wolf is the alias given to the Count of Perdium, who guarded the frontier of the Lithania kingdom. His father was a solitary figure, leading a weak military force and a treasury plagued by poverty. Yet, in the war-torn northern reaches, he dedicated his entire life to protecting the land, even at the expense of his family. In the end, he met a miserable end, forgotten by all. Despite Belinda and Gillian's pleas for rest, Ghislain insisted on immediate preparations for departure. They expressed concern for his well-being, especially given the effort it took to counteract the python's venom. Ghislain, with a brief, reassuring touch to Belinda, dismissed their worries and walked away, driven by an insatiable need for power. However, his exhaustion quickly caught up to him, and he collapsed. A carrier pigeon brought news of the Perdium expedition and a directive for war. Harold Desmond, upon receiving this information, immediately instructed his council to prepare for the destruction of Perdium. News of Ghislain's successful runestone acquisition, using her 20,000 gold, left Amelia in tears. After Bernaf consoled her, she resolved to exploit Ghislain's need to sell the runestones. Convinced he'd choose the Crimson Magic Tower, she planned an ambush with the wild cats. When Bernaf mentioned the Flame Magic Tower, Amelia dismissed it, stating Ghislain's greed would drive him to the Crimson Tower's superior offers. This time she will take everything from Ghislain. Back at Perdium Castle, Ghislain, wrapped in bandages, lay unconscious. He dreamed of the moment he was swallowed by the bloody python. Inside the monster, the venom tried to dissolve him. He used his mana core to neutralize the venomous energy, a manipulation technique only achievable by those who had reached the superhuman realm. Ghislain opened his eyes and unleashed a mana explosion, striking the beast from within. Then, Ghislain woke up, feeling refreshed. As he sat up, he noticed his sister Elena beside him. Elena immediately hugged Ghislain. She explained that he had been unconscious for 2 days. Then Elena pushed Ghislain back down, went outside, and called Belinda, telling her that Ghislain was awake. Ghislain stood up and checked his body. He felt something strange, his body felt better, and his mana had changed and increased. Could it be because the bloody python's energy mixed with his when he tried to neutralize it using his mana? With this new method, he could grow 12 times stronger than before. Ghislain got ready to sell the runestones. Someone knocked. Thinking it was Belinda, Ghislain told her there was no need to knock and come in. Then his father, Belinda, and Elena entered. Ghislain was shocked to see his father with Belinda and Elena. Belinda explained everything to his father about Ghislain being swallowed by the python and expressed her relief that he was all right. Belinda was so worried when Ghislain passed out. Then, his father asked Ghislain if he had a moment to talk, saying he had a request. Ghislain asked, "A request?" Ghislain followed his father to the training room. This was the first time they'd ever had a one-on-one. As they stood in the middle of the training room, Ghislain asked his father what his request was. His father looked at Ghislain silently, and then looked away. In the shadows of the training chamber, Ghislain recalls his mother's poignant words. "Your father is a man of strength, yet he bears a hidden sorrow that masks his true heart." His father raised his sword and asked Ghislain to do the same. They both took a stance. His father attacked first, and Ghislain blocked it. They continued to exchange strikes. His father stopped. Ghislain felt his father's strikes were heavy. His father's strikes were forged with the strength to subdue the savage barbarians of the north, yet tempered with the gentleness to protect all. Their sparring continued. As Ghislain parried his father's attack, his father was surprised Ghislain countered. His father managed to block Ghislain's attack. The match stopped with Ghislain pointing his sword at his father's throat. His father commended Ghislain's skills but pointed out some flaws. Ghislain's movements were easy to read. Ghislain realized that this was the first time someone had given him advice. Ghislain thanked his father for teaching him. His father initially intended to scold Ghislain, but since he had changed, he walked away, advising him to continue as he was and to think of Perdium and its people, fulfilling his responsibility as successor. Ghislain remembered his father's request and asked what it was. His father was startled and stopped. He looked at Ghislain and asked if he had any extra funds. Later, at the Forest of the Beasts, Ghislain met the others. Everyone stood straight, showing their respect to their leader. Ghislain asked Gillian how his daughter Rachel was doing. Gillian bowed and thanked Ghislain, saying he never thought he'd see the day his daughter could walk again. Ghislain called Belinda, Gillian, and Kair. Ghislain looked serious, informing them that their land was in danger. Belinda, Gillian, and Kair were shocked. They went inside the tent, and Ghislain explained everything to them. Elena's abduction, how he discovered the Degard young lord's corpse, and the existence of those eyeing Perdium. He emphasized that they didn't have the time or resources to prepare for an attack. Belinda, understanding Ghislain's haste, let out a sigh. Gillian recognized the danger. Perdium, weak and underfunded, was ripe for attack. Belinda proposed alerting the vassals or Ghislain's father, but Ghislain refused, suspecting a spy still lurked within Perdium's ranks. Ghislain spoke of a formidable enemy. Kair, ready for battle, sought Ghislain's command. Gillian, with unwavering loyalty, promised to fight until his last breath. And Belinda, her eyes gleaming with determination, pledged to protect Ghislain. Ghislain knew that the biggest enemy of Perdium was the Delphine ducal family, as well as Count Desmond and Amelia, who were taking orders from them. But Ghislain wouldn't let things go their way. Ghislain decided they would go to the Flame Magic Tower. Belinda questioned Ghislain's decision to travel to the distant Flame Magic Tower instead of the nearby Crimson Tower. Ghislain reasoned that the Flame Tower would present fewer obstacles. Gillian concurred, believing their enemies would anticipate a runestone sail at the Crimson Tower, making it a likely ambush site. However, Ghislain's decision to travel to the Flame Magic Tower was not solely based on avoiding trouble. He also had a specific reason. Alright, that's a wrap for today's video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.